What's going on, guys? It's your boy Cash, and we're here with the little boy that's actually a grown man. Don't mind the camera angle. It's because I'm recording this differently because I lost my, I looked up here, not here, it's here. I lost my TV. Well, it doesn't work anymore, so I have to do a different, oh my god, camera angle for its fact until I get another monitor or something like that. So LUDWIG is currently on the banner, and I'm doing a summons video. I'm doing a collective of my free summons, and I already tried to summon for him. I think I summoned 80 bookmarks or something like that, something small. I didn't want to go too hard in the paint. They're doing repeat banners right now, which clearly means that something crazy is coming up probably in a couple weeks or a month. So just in case there's some people that did go hard for the boy like myself that just like this character. I've always liked LUDWIG. He's always been a cool character. He's been changed over time, so technically this is even better because he's still playing the same, but he got better. They buffed him because people were complaining about him, which is great. It's great when a character that's already good gets complaints and then they buff him anyway. so let's talk about the boy. First and foremost, if you check out LUDWIG, is that he has a dramatically high attack stat. That's really what his whole shtick or his whole deal was, is that I think he has the highest attack in the game or of just the mages. Let me double check. Now we're here on the magical game press. I'm just gonna press attack, just in generally attack. So he's up there with Gunther, who has a weird, they gave him the high attack because, you know, they felt like it. For a 3-star, you know, he has this weird thing where he can't crit, yada yada yada. So him and Melissa, as you can see here, Melissa and LUDWIG are the two characters that have the highest attack in the game, because of, you know, weird reasons. And it's weird because I think if you check here, it says his speed is 106, but when we go into game, he's actually the same speed. They're probably exactly the same because, like I said, very difficult making these characters. I think they're the same. So he has 112 speed. We just saw in game that he actually does. So they have the same stats, so which is cool. That's why Melissa hits hard. She's not AoE, but she's meant as a nuker. So when you see Melissa damage and you're thinking, wow, that's a lot of damage, think about LUDWIG damage. You can see he's 106, but when he's awakened, he has 112. I don't know, maybe they don't show the awakening, but that would be weird because when you're not awakened, he doesn't have 1412. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't use that site as a reliable source. But yes, as you see, pretty decent speed. Anything above 100 is gonna be good for me, especially when your DPS is that high. You know, health, whatever, defense, whatever. Crit chance, sweet. Would have been nice if you got a little bit more of that. But yeah, whatever. This guy hits hard. He hits hard. I don't know specifically his attack modifiers, but he seems to have one of the highest. His S1 hits like a truck. So let's just go into his, oh, I keep clicking the wrong thing. Preview a skills of this, and we can look at the skills. We turn them up.
I'll show you just a little of what I can do.
What I can do. Nothing I can do. All right, no, shout out. Hit me in the comment section if you know where that's from. Nothing I can do. One of my favorite YouTube sketches. So we've got the first S1 in comparison to the second S1. S1 Starlight attacks with the magic with a 60% chance to steal 1 buff, increases the combat readiness of the caster. I read that's completely wrong, by 50% when the caster is buffed. So that's like the weird synergy of that. It's like, oh, you know, you steal the buff and then when you use it again, you'll get it. Most likely you're going to be buffed by something completely different. LUDWIG, and we'll go into that later, is completely about team comp. He's an AoEer that obviously does not have the fastest of speeds to go first, so he's going to need some help. So let's look at the S1.
Let's begin.
Now on a training dummy it looks like nothing, but most of the time that pretty much kills. It does so much damage. As you can see here, you can bring the effect chance up to 65-75%, and then everything else is DPS. This skill is something you definitely mold last. It's not that important. It's not really gonna bring home the bacon, but it is still really good. Stealing a buff is really good because obviously you take theirs, they don't have it anymore, and now you have a brand new buff. You can take immortalities, you can take revive buffs, you could take attack buffs, attack greater buffs, especially. Like, there's a lot of crazy stuff you could take. I mean, all the buffs in the game, because that's what it's supposed to be. So it's just really good, obviously. Moonlight Blow. This gives him invincibility. Hey, you can still have invincibility. Attacks with a light with a 35% chance to stun for 1 turn before granting the caster invincibility, which is awesome because it gives you invincibility. So, you know, when those crazy bad guys come after you, like martial artists can, at least you have some type of defense against it, but on top of that, it also has a stun chance on it, so he might not come after you at all. So I do like this a lot. I like it a lot. As we see here, the chance for it to stun goes up to 50%, which is awesome. So this is definitely still not your priority. It is the second priority. It's literally 3, 2, 1. So yeah, it's just a really good move. It just does a ton of damage.
What annoying people.
What annoying people. This skill does like the same amount of damage almost as some people's S3 nukes. It does so much damage. It doesn't ignore defense. It doesn't do any of that stuff. It just does way too much damage. I love that. I can see your weakness. I freaking love it. Last but not least, the S3 Call of the Full Moon attacks all enemies with Nocturne magic, penetrating defense by 20%. When the caster is invisible, penetrates defense by additional 30%. Critical hit will grant the caster a barrier for 2 turns. The strength of the barrier is increased by his attack. So now this thing has dramatically changed over time. You can also soul burn it for increased damage. Now it used to be, when it first started off, what this thing was, you had to be invincible, and then if you were invincible, it would penetrate 50%. They changed it to that it penetrates in general just to 20%, and then if you have to be invincible, like if you S2'd into S3, or if you got invincibility buff from, let's say, like Blaze Dingo or something like that, you know, it had a different type of synergy. But now it's good even if you're not invincible. So I hope that makes sense. Like, that's what they changed about him. Also, they changed that he gained a barrier. The problem was that, I guess, once the AoE countering came about, I think that he wasn't doing enough damage, so he wasn't getting a kill. They didn't want to say like, oh, you have to be able to kill us at 50% even if you're not invincible, which they might do in the future, who knows. But they made it that he gets a crazy thick barrier that pretty much, even if martial artist Ken does not die from this move and he counterattacks, he's not killing Ludwig. He's not going to kill Ludwig. There's just no way he does. The thickness of this barrier that comes out is just too much. And also the move is so cool. Creates its own throne, which I don't understand. I don't understand why that happens. I was thinking to myself too, I was like, wait, where's the barrier? Oh my god, I'm lying. It has to hit a critical hit, which is nice because it's an AoE move, so only one thing has to be crit. Hopefully we can get one crit. This might take a while because the gear of the journal is not, you know, good. There we go, crit, finally. And there's our barrier.
I'll show you just a little of what I can do.
Now, as I've said before, is that a barrier is like, usually it looks bigger or smaller depending on the HP. So most of the time when you see Ludwig's barriers, they're gonna look huge because he has low HP, but it's still pretty thick. Like, I would say that's like almost close to half. It's not exactly there, but this one is like, if it's 4,000, I would say that this is maybe like 1,000-esque. Remember, this is the attack. It's the attack scaling barrier, and his attack is still like base level here. So when you have a very high attack Ludwig, which you will, this barrier will almost cover like half his HP, if not just like shortly sly of it, maybe like 40 to 30%. It's ridiculous. And I forgot to mention, all you can do is increase the damage. You can lower the cooldown by 1. That's really about it. So now let's go into the gear. I don't think that there's much special stuff that we're gonna talk about here. The whole aspect of him is that his speed is decent, but usually you're using some type of setup that's going to bring him in. There's a couple of characters that can do that for you. Obviously, Alots, Tywin is probably one of the best ones. Tywin's so good because Tywin, accompanied by him having the book artifact, is if you just build a ton of speed on Tywin, you can actually just use his soul burn and give him the stuff. So depending on who you're bringing in, depending on how fast your supporting characters are, you usually will just go something like the attack set. You don't have to go too crazy. If you're gonna have someone give you a crit chance buff like Tywin, then you don't need crazy crit chance. You can actually, skimp on that a little bit. So just keep that in mind. Like, it's hard to always go with these things. Like, you're not going like counter or some stupid stuff like that. The best thing that you really want to go for is attack into something. He doesn't have any crit based stuff in his kit, so I wouldn't necessarily go like crit damage. That's very greedy. You need a really good crit damage set to go that. Just go safe. Just play it safe. Go attack set into crit chance, and then just be mindful of who you're in the battle with. If, like I said, Tywin's giving you a crit chance buff, that's 50% off the bat. Pretty much that's it. He's very simple to build. He's not anything too complex. His high base attack gives him the ability to like really do a lot of damage, even if your gear is not that great. Artifactidus, my favorite. It's always been my favorite. I'm just gonna go to the best one. Let's just go straight to the problem. The best one is honestly the Takahell's book, and like I said, that's because you're combining it with another character. Especially if you're going with the Tywin comp, that's usually where this comes in, because you give 20 souls to Tywin. Tywin does the magical things. I should probably just show you Tywin so you guys understand, just for people that are unaware. Tywin has the S3 that when you soul burn for 20, he gets an extra turn, and then he S2s you, giving you attack and crit chance, and then that's pretty much the end of the thing. His speed's actually not that bad. His speed is 110, so you invest very heavily into his speed, and that's all he needs. You can give him effectiveness if you really want to, but yeah, that's literally all he needs. So you get the 20 souls, and that's what you do. But let's say you're not running Tywin, you know, and there's still like the Takahell's book is still like, if you want to like S3 his thing, which is it's okay. It's okay, but let's see what other options that we can bring out, right? The new Black Hand of the Goddess is pretty good because it actually gives him an additional crit chance on the artifact. His S3 hits like a truck anyway, so if you can, let's say if you didn't get blessed by the gear gods and you know your crit chance is just a little bit shy, you can use this artifact to pretty much like, let me just fill in that thing, because you want that crit. Like as you saw, well, I edited it out, but it took me a couple of tries to get that stupid thing to crit, and if you don't get any crit, you don't get that barrier, and the barrier is pretty much to clean up or to not die afterwards. The S2, as you saw, hits like a well, you didn't really see it, but the S2 hits like a truck, and so does the S1. So you want to survive that, and that's what that barrier is for. So you definitely need that crit on the S3. I briefly mentioned this in the summon video, which is going to come out after this video drops, is that this artifact is actually not that bad. It's really good for like squishy ass characters. It pretty much is, if they try to hit you with damage, you can reduce it by 50%. The effect chance is pretty low, but when it does trigger, especially if he has that barrier up, or if he has like a defense buff or something like that up, you literally take no damage. It's insane how much it negates. Well, it's not insane, it's 50% because it says it right there. So it's just really, really strong. It's still a low chance for it to happen, but it's really good for squishy characters when they try to focus them down because they know how big of a threat they are, and you just waste their turn. They might not, you know, they might even do 80% of the HP or something like that, but a character like Ludwig, if he gets his S3 off, usually a lot of things are gonna die. So let's say if you get outsped, it's a pretty good safety precaution. If you're very confident in your cleave on the S3, a lot of people would just go with Portrait of the Saviors or the Exorcist Tonfas, the two best, you know, they're full health, let me kill them in one blow. That's usually what a lot of people are gonna run. Same thing with the other artifact that I mentioned, the Black Hand. Maybe have someone, it doesn't necessarily have to be him, but someone in the team comp. This is more, like I said, Ludwig is definitely about the cleave. He's definitely about cleaving, you know. So if you know someone has this, because you just like, again, you know what your stats are. It's not like, I don't know if you look at the stats, you see if you're below 100% crit chance, and you need to make sure that there's a way that you're definitely going to crit. This is a nice one. You can put this on literally anybody in your cleave team that's like just sitting there, that's not doing anything. 16%, you know, for free. I mean, if you have this, obviously this was like an event, so if you have this, 16% free. Like, he's a pretty solid character. He's one of the best cleavers in the game, and it just requires setup, which every cleave does. Most cleaves, in my opinion, are always just the simple thing of like, you know, A-lots into S3. That's usually everyone's cleave. So or you could even do very fast A-lots with Tywin, right? Very fast A-lots with Tywin, and then Tywin into Ludwig, and that's 3 character setup. That's not too much. That's the same setup you can actually use in Guild War as well, and that will get a lot of bodies. A lot of bodies, because that way you actually don't need to build speed on Tywin. You can just leave him alone and just build high effectiveness, so the defense break lands. And even that situation, that what I just said, is pretty much good for every single cleaver in the game. You don't need to put that specifically on Ludwig. But yes, Ludwig is really good. Needs a little bit of setup, but even if he doesn't have setup, as long as once he gets his turn, he get the S3 hits, that barrier is going to be fantastic. And the S2 with the stun chance is fantastic. S1 still a buff, whatever, still does good damage. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know if there's something that I might have missed out on. Let me know if there's any type of artifact that I missed out on. His gear is pretty basic. Or any combos that you guys have figured out that maybe I didn't think of, besides him just being a cleaver. You can use him in other things, but most likely there's so many better things for other PvE stuff. You're not gonna necessarily have Ludwig unless he was like your first character you got. He's like, you gotta use him in everything. But anywho, just remember that every day at the casino is your lucky day, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.